This is a call to all of you, the future European generations, asking you to stay together and united. Only this way will we achieve the European dream. So, let's work together.
Unfortunately, I do not have a picture of CISAC, but I hope a few living pictures should do the trick.
We are looking forward to sit down in the little groups and discuss questions surrounding the European Parliament, because this will be a great experience for us teens as well as politicians, because we are the future of Europe. In the future, we will be sitting here and changing Europe for real.
Today we want to sing about everything. We just want to sing all day long. And we are here to sing for you and tell you all about our high school. So listen to the music and have fun with us all day long. All day long. All day long.
What are the limits of the sanctions that the EU is ready to impose to help its citizens? Would the EU change one of its core values to help its members? My country highly depends on Russia, so this question is really important for us, at least. So basically what I mean is, would the EU help Hungary if we faced a problem, either economic or military?
I just wanted to ask you a question because we probably all know how important voting for the European Parliament is. In our country, Croatia, except for our capital, which you probably know is Zagreb, a lot of other cities, and I think we're one of the rare cities that is actually informed about how the European works, how the European Union and Parliament and its bodies actually work. So I just wanted to know, do you have any plans to bring this problem or give more information to other cities that aren't actually in the central Croatia or around Zagreb?
Hi, ich bin Simon Fricke aus Deutschland und
Simon Frick from Germany. And I was wondering about the Ukraine crisis, which is on everyone's lips. I wanted to ask to what extent the European Parliament is prepared to support Ukraine, and what type of steps will you be taking in the next couple of weeks or months?
I would like to ask you a question that should European countries like Norway or Switzerland be part of the European Union? And if they should, how can we make you attractive enough for them to be wanting to be part of it?
A couple of months ago, jihadists entered the offices of the magazine Charlie Hebdo in France and spread the death. France reacted by sending soldiers in the roads because people have started to fear. I don't support at all this attack, but I would like to ask you, what's the meaning of the freedom of thought and expression when these acts insult some people, and how such events could be prevented in the future?
What is EU opinion of mass surveillance? Is there a balance between protection of personal information and national security? Thank you.
I'm just wondering, why aren't EU taking bigger steps to prevent global change and pollution?
I believe that more than an economic crisis, the European Union is living a social values crisis. Do you think that there is a need of deep changes in the European Union, or eventually it will disappear? And if so, what changes are needed? Thank you.
It wasn't a long time ago when Mario Draghi and European Central Bank decided to release 60 billion of euros through quantitative easing. Its goal was to restart economy, but on the other side it brings inflation, a possibility of inflation, and as well I read that it might cause the advantage for the countries with high debt that like Italy or Spain, that it will be lowered. What do you think about this step of quantitative easing, whether it is fair, whether it is a good way, a good step for euro, for your currency, for the other states of European Union.
We've all seen the effects of chemical fracturing has had on the people and the environment of America. Are there any plans to introduce a Europe-wide ban on fracking and ensure a safe future for our youth?
How does EU look at the immigration part around the Middle Sea? Thank you.
We believe that starting with a young age in teaching people about the environment and changing the way people think was important from a young age, because that's where you develop all of your ideas. We also thought the social media campaign would be very important, because it's such a big area in our lives, and it'd be a big area to miss because it's such a huge opportunity. We said that finding people for doing wrong and rewarding them for doing the right thing was essential, because this way we could use money towards resources and job opportunities. We would have the same legislation for each country, and we believe that punishing for doing wrong was also important. By developing renewable energy resources, this would create employment opportunities. It would be a source of sustainable management. The tidy up days we'd also like to introduce them. There was great incentives in Germany where they bring bottles to a recycle center and give them a voucher for buying cheaper bottles the next time. We just thought this was a great idea, because everything to encourage people is it's every little bit helps. So that's pretty much it.
In Holland, where I live, my name is Moik, and I live in the Netherlands. People don't like the windmills. When they walk out of their homes, they see the windmills and they don't like it. They think it's ugly. They say in the government that it should go away. It's impossible to make it compulsory. It just can't.
Thank you. I agree that they can be unsightly, like windmills and all that, but at the moment there is no other way that we can create these kind of renewable energy resources. There's no other options, like say for Holland, like there are other places in the north. The weather is just it's not correct for some of the resources, like such as solar panels. So there really is no other option for renewable energy resources. It's kind of the only options around.
The internal development means that we solve some of our problems, so that the countries may help the third world, because they don't have any more of their own problems. We will also given a great thought to so to say self-preservation. We think that we need to educate people of the third world to self-preserve themselves. They can educate them to work, fish, or some other job, and they can spread the education further, so the third world countries don't have to be so dependent on the European Union, but they can depend on themselves. The internal development of the European Union is very important, and we agreed that it should be funded with part of the funds going to the third world. So we developed, and infrastructural development of the third world is needed. Hospitals, schools, and all the other buildings are needed, but not as much as the right people to use them. We need to educate the right people to use the help they are given.
These funds are both for third world countries and for European countries. So we are focusing not only on Europe, that we should be solving the problems that in Europe, and we are also solving problems in another side of the world. We are doing two things at the same time. Shouldn't we primarily focus on European countries and help financially develop and give those infrastructures to the European countries instead of going to the third world when Europe has a lot of problems of its own?
So yes, we are solving two problems at once, but let's say we focus just on our internal problems. Then what you have? The third world is heavily dependent on the European funding. If we withdraw that funds for our internal development, the problems can be solved in a month, 2 months, or a year. But the third world is left with nothing. They have nothing and they rot. If they rot, riots, wars, they come out. That's a world problem. It's not just their problem. So we have to manage and develop them and us. We can't just focus on one thing primarily. Let's say we focus on the third world. Europe rots, chaos, riots, maybe wars. At this point, it's not easy to focus on one thing, so it probably would be a wrong move.
We attributed some of our problems to Euroscepticism. According to a survey from 2013, the asked people said that the 42% of the asked people said that they believe that the EU is serving their country's needs, which is a really scary fact in my opinion. So we tried to work on this problem, and we came to the conclusion that it is a problem which should be dealt when the citizens of the EU are at a tender age, so mostly in schools. And we decided that maybe an alteration in the school curriculum should be made in every country.
At the beginning of your speech, you mentioned the young people and reaching them by education. But from many surveys, we can see that the most skeptical ones are actually the people in their 30s or their 40s, actually the working class in their productivity. And I would like to ask, how are you planning to reach this group, which is actually able to vote and they feel like they have no influence on on EU, and that EU is doing nothing for them? Thank you.
Well, we planned to use the media for that, because we see many things in the TV, and as I've said before, using the extremes, like either shocking someone or showing something good or showing something disgusting or something delicious, we can grasp different types of people. Those who get affected by the disgust they feel or get affected by the deliciousness of something. So we wanted to reach older generations via the media, so with advertisement and such.
Now, indeed, we have had two main problems in our work session, and to formulate them shortly, the first one is that the European Union is not present in our daily lives. People do not know about what happens here, or do not know about what the European Union can or maybe will do. And that problem is one that's very big, because it also causes our second problem that we will talk about in a minute. Our solution for this is the European Union and its spokesmen should be more pursuant in arranging, for example, television interviews to explain policies and present themselves and the European Union to citizens. And we also talked about the possibility of radio broadcasts and, for example, television shows made by the European Union. But the main concern in this is language, since you know around us there are all translator boxes, and the problem is not only that everybody in the European Union has another language to speak, but the other problem is that a lot of the stuff that's actually published now is translated to all the languages, but simply cannot be understood by citizens who, for example, do not have a law degree. So we have also proposed that the European Union should be more simple in its use of language and translate it into all the languages of the European Union so that it communicates clearly to all the people of the European Union.
You mentioned earlier that you wanted to have more simple programs on the television, but then you also said that you wanted people to be more critical, and I was interested in how you would want to implement that into our societies.
You see, the media are still broadcasting what they choose to broadcast. I simply said that the European Union should be more persuasive into getting in onto television shows, for example, and giving people the information about the European Union, about decision making here, that they need to form their own opinion. And that's coming on your second point. People should be made into critical thinkers, because we are unfortunately not all. I'm sure very many of us here are. And that would be done by introducing certain themes or certain extra subjects, making them more present in our school curriculum, such as, for example, philosophy.
What we wanted for the immigrants and for this matter, it's not segregation. We want integration. We don't want to send away the refugees and the immigrants. We want to help them. We want to make them adapt to our society. Never was closing borders an option. Never was kicking the immigrants out an option. We want them to fit in. But why? Because it's who we are. We, European, are a mix. We are all immigrants here. None of our races are original from Europe. We are either Celtic or Roman or Greece. Some of us have Arabic influences. We are a product of multiculturalism. Europe is a product of multiculturalism, and so is the European Union. So we should not kick immigrants out. We should help them strive. We should give them the ability to adapt to our society. Therefore, our project will be later on explained more deeply, focus on educating, especially the language of the country, educating the immigrants, and to make them able to work, because some of them are unable to work. They are underqualified for the countries they are staying in. So we want to give them the capacity to work.
Yes, I was wondering, when does a country get to say, get to set a stop to the immigration? Is it when it's difficult to find work in the country, or when it's difficult to find a house? Because you can let immigrants enter, but there is a time when the country is full.
Yeah, this was something that we spoke about, and that's what I sort of touched upon earlier with the idea of quotas. Yeah, well, I agree that sometimes it's difficult to manage the number of people immigrating into a country. What was suggested by a group of people was that you could have a quota of, for example, 2% of the current population in that country. That is the number of immigrants that country can hold, and once they reach that, that's, that would be it. And I suppose, that would maybe be a difficult thing to control as well, and perhaps that was why this suggestion wasn't passed in the debate that we had. But yeah, that could be a possible solution. That was something that was brought up.
The European Union should promote the early retirements. For example, retirement at the age of 6 years old, so that their jobs can be filled with younger employees between the ages of 16 and 25. They could be fulfilled, part-time filled, or with internships, which would be even better. So they would be embracing the youth and employment, and they are also giving them experience. They are giving them some education. To conclude, companies or organizations that hire a lot of people under the age of 25 should receive subsidies. For example, if at least 15% of employees in a company are under 25, they should be rewarded, as they are trying to fight against the youth employment crisis in the EU. And it would be even better if a percentage of their reward would go to give them some education, or to give them some experience, or, for example, to promote internships. Thank you very much.
You said positive discrimination would be the call for young people getting jobs. I think that isn't right, because every discrimination is discrimination, and now that all group of ages have the same rights to do the job, you would discriminate elderly people and give easier to the people younger age. I think that isn't right, because everyone should have same rights for job.
I cannot agree with you, because positive discrimination is everywhere. It's in this parliament. I don't know if you know that, but a percentage of the parliament has to be with women. So positive discrimination, I think, is a way to solve this problem. And we're not discriminating the elderly. We are just making it simpler for the young employees to enter in a company or in an enterprise.